Right now, as you're watching this video, there's a voice in your head. You know the one I'm talking about. It's the voice that whispered, "This probably won't work for me." When you clicked on this video, the voice that tells you you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough. The voice that has stolen more dreams, crushed more ambitions, and destroyed more potential than any external enemy ever could. That voice is self-doubt. And today, I'm going to show you how to silence it instantly using a hidden trick that most people will never discover. This isn't about positive thinking or fake confidence. This is about rewiring your brain at the neurological level in real time. What I'm about to share with you comes from cutting-edge neuroscience research that reveals something shocking. Self-doubt isn't a personality trait. It's not who you are, and it's not permanent. It's simply a neural pathway that can be changed in seconds. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact technique to do it. But here's what makes this different from everything else you've tried. Most advice tells you to fight self-doubt, to overcome it, to push through it. That's like trying to win a war against yourself. What I'm going to show you is how to make self-doubt irrelevant by understanding its true nature and using your brain's own rewiring system against it. So, if you're ready to stop being held hostage by that voice in your head, if you're ready to unlock the confident version of yourself that's been waiting to emerge, then let's dive into the hidden truth about self-doubt that changes everything. Chapter 1. The invisible prison you don't know you're in. Here's something that will probably shock you. The average person experiences self-doubt approximately 60 times per day. That's once every 1.5 seconds during waking hours. It's happening so frequently that you don't even notice it anymore. It's become the background noise of your existence. Think about this morning. How many times did self-doubt creep in? When you looked in the mirror, did you have a thought about your appearance? When you thought about your goals, did a little voice question whether you could achieve them? When you interacted with someone, did you second-guess what you said or how you came across? Each of these moments is self-doubt in action, and it's happening so automatically that you think it's just normal thinking. But here's the reality that no one talks about. Self-doubt isn't thinking, it's conditioning. It's a learned response that your brain has been programmed to execute. And like any program, it can be rewritten. The problem is that most people believe self-doubt is protecting them. They think it's keeping them humble, realistic, or safe from disappointment. This is the greatest lie your mind tells you. Self-doubt doesn't protect you from failure. It guarantees mediocrity. It doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. It doesn't make you realistic. It makes you a prisoner of imaginary limitations. And the most insidious part is that it masquerades as wisdom, as being sensible, as being mature. But wisdom doesn't tell you that you can't. Wisdom helps you figure out how you can. Let me paint you a picture of what self-doubt really costs you. It's not just the big dreams you don't pursue. It's the conversations you don't start because you're worried about what people will think. It's the opportunities you don't apply for because you assume you're not qualified. It's the relationships you don't deepen because you're afraid of being vulnerable. It's the creative projects you don't begin because you're convinced they won't be good enough. It's the promotion you don't ask for because you believe you don't deserve it. Self-doubt operates like a sophisticated security system that's designed to keep intruders out. But it's been programmed with the wrong information. Instead of keeping out actual threats, it's keeping out opportunities. Growth, love, success, and joy. It's keeping out everything that would make your life extraordinary. And it's doing it so efficiently that you don't even realize what you're missing. But here's where it gets really interesting. From a neuroscience perspective, self-doubt creates what researchers call confirmation bias loops. Your brain, convinced that you're not capable, starts looking for evidence to support this belief. It notices every small failure, every awkward moment, every rejection, and files them away as proof that self-doubt was right to protect you. Meanwhile, it completely ignores or minimizes evidence of your capabilities, your successes, your growth, and your potential. This is why self-doubt feels so real and so convincing. Your brain has literally been collecting evidence for years to support the case that you should doubt yourself. But what if I told you that this evidence was gathered by a biased investigator who was only looking for one type of proof? What if I told you that there's an entire library of counter-evidence that your brain has been programmed to ignore? The most successful people in the world aren't successful because they don't experience self-doubt. They're successful because they've learned to recognize self-doubt for what it really is. A glitch in their mental software. They've learned to see it as information, not instruction. They feel the doubt, acknowledge it, and then make decisions based on their values, their goals, and their vision rather than their fears. This is the first crucial understanding. Self-doubt is not your voice. It's a voice that has been programmed into you by your experiences, your environment, your upbringing, and society's conditioning. It's no more you than a computer. Virus is the computer, and just like a computer virus, it can be identified, isolated, and removed. The reason most people struggle with self-doubt their entire lives is that they're trying to fight it on its own terms. They're trying to argue with it, convince it, or overcome it through willpower. But you can't argue with a program. You can't convince conditioning. You can't willpower your way out of automatic responses. You have to understand how the system works and then reprogram it. And that brings us to the most important revelation of all. Your brain is not fixed. The neural pathways that create self-doubt are not permanent. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every automatic response you have exists as a pattern of electrical activity in your brain. And these patterns can be changed, weakened, or completely rewired. The science that proves this is called neuroplasticity, and it's about to change everything you thought you knew about yourself. Chapter 2. The Neuroplasticity Revolution That Changes Everything. For centuries, scientists believed that the adult brain was essentially fixed. They thought that after a certain age, your neural pathways were set in stone. Your personality was unchangeable and your mental patterns were permanent. This belief shaped everything: how we viewed personal development, how we approached therapy, how we understood human potential. Then came one of the most revolutionary discoveries in the history of neuroscience: neuroplasticity. The discovery that your brain is constantly rewiring itself, constantly forming new connections, constantly adapting and changing based on your thoughts, experiences, and behaviors. This wasn't just a minor adjustment to our understanding. This was a complete paradigm shift that changed everything we thought we knew about human potential. Here's what neuroplasticity means for you specifically. Every single limiting belief you have, every self-doubt pattern, every fear response, every confidence issue exists as a neural pathway in your brain. And neural pathways are not permanent structures. They're more like trails in a forest. The more they're used, the more defined they become. The less they're used, the more they fade away. Think about self-doubt as a highway in your brain. Every time you doubt yourself, you're driving down that highway, making it wider, smoother, more established. Every time you question your abilities, you're adding another lane. Every time you assume you'll fail, you're reinforcing the infrastructure. After years of this, the self-doubt highway becomes a superhighway. The fastest, most efficient route your brain can take when processing information about yourself. But here's the incredible part. You can build new highways. You can construct confidence pathways, self-belief routes, and success-oriented neural networks. And because of something called neural competition, as you strengthen the new pathways, the old ones automatically weaken. It's not about fighting self-doubt. It's about making it obsolete by creating better options. The process works like this. Every thought sends electrical signals through your brain. When you think a thought repeatedly, those electrical signals create a stronger connection between neurons. The stronger the connection, the more likely the thought pattern is to fire automatically in the future. This is why self-doubt feels so automatic. You've literally trained your brain to be efficient at doubting yourself. But the same mechanism that created the problem can solve it. When you intentionally think thoughts of confidence, capability, and self-belief, you're sending different electrical signals through your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. And with consistent practice, these new pathways become stronger than the old ones. This isn't theory. This is measurable science. Brain scans show physical changes in neural structure within weeks of changing thought patterns. People who practice self-confidence building techniques show increased activity in areas of the brain associated with self-worth and decreased activity in areas associated with self-criticism and fear. One of the most fascinating studies involved people who simply imagined playing piano for 1 hour a day for 5 days. Brain scans showed that the neural pathways associated with playing piano strengthened almost as much as they did in people who actually played piano for the same amount of time. This proves that your brain responds to imagined experiences almost as powerfully as it responds to real ones. What does this mean for overcoming self-doubt? It means that you can literally think your way to confidence. You can imagine your way to self-belief. You can visualize your way to unshakable inner strength. And your brain will respond by rewiring itself to make these mental states your new default. But there's a specific way to do this that most people get wrong. You can't just think positive thoughts and hope for the best. You have to understand how neural pathway formation works and use specific techniques that maximize the rewiring process. First, you need to understand the concept of emotional intensity. Neural pathways form faster and stronger when emotions are involved. This is why traumatic experiences can create instant lasting changes in behavior. The emotional intensity of the experience makes the neural pathway formation more powerful. You can use this principle positively by combining your confidence-building thoughts with strong positive emotions. Second, you need to understand repetition with variation. Simply repeating the same positive thought over and over won't create lasting change. You need to approach your new confidence from different angles using different scenarios, different emotional states, and different sensory experiences. This creates a more robust neural network that's harder to override. Third, you need to understand implementation intention. This is the difference between wanting to be confident and having a specific plan for how confidence will show up in your life. Your brain needs concrete, specific images and scenarios to work with. Vague intentions create weak neural pathways. Specific, detailed intentions create strong ones. The most powerful part of neuroplasticity research is the discovery of state-dependent learning. This means that the mental and emotional state you're in when you form new neural pathways determines how easily you can access those pathways later. If you practice confidence while feeling calm and centered, you'll be able to access that confidence most easily when you're calm and centered. But if you practice confidence while feeling stressed or anxious, you'll be able to access it even in challenging situations. This is why the technique I'm about to share with you is so powerful. It's designed to work with your brain's natural neuroplasticity mechanisms to create instant lasting change in how you experience yourself. It's not about positive thinking. It's about strategic neural pathway reconstruction. Chapter 3. The instant neural rewiring technique that stops self-doubt. Now we get to the technique that changes everything. This isn't just another confidence building exercise. This is a precise scientifically based method for instantly rewiring the neural pathways that create self-doubt. I call it the neural override protocol. And it works by hijacking your brain's own neuroplasticity mechanisms to create immediate and lasting change. The technique is based on 3 core principles from neuroscience: neural interruption, pathway redirection, and emotional anchoring. Each step is designed to work with your brain's natural processes rather than against them. Here's exactly how it works. Step 1 is neural interruption. The moment you notice self-doubt arising, you're going to do something that sounds strange but is scientifically powerful. You're going to thank your brain. You're going to say either out loud or in your mind, "Thank you, brain, for trying to protect me, but I've got this handled." This does something crucial. It acknowledges the self-doubt without fighting it, which prevents the resistance response that makes doubt stronger. When you fight self-doubt, you create what neuroscientists call neural resistance. Your brain interprets your fighting as confirmation that there really is something to be worried about. So, it doubles down on the doubt. But when you thank your brain, you're essentially telling it that you've received the message and you're choosing to handle the situation consciously rather than automatically. Step 2 is pathway redirection. Immediately after thanking your brain, you're going to ask yourself one specific question. What would the most confident version of myself do right now? This question is neurologically powerful because it activates your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for higher-order thinking and decision-making, while simultaneously accessing your memory banks for examples of confidence. Your brain will automatically start searching for times when you felt confident, times when you've succeeded, times when you've handled challenges well. This search process begins building new neural connections between your current situation and your confident memories. You're literally rewiring your brain to associate the present moment with confidence rather than doubt. Step 3 is emotional anchoring. This is where the magic happens. You're going to do something called embodied confidence. You're going to physically change your posture, your breathing, and your facial expression to match how you would look and feel if you were completely confident in this moment. Stand or sit up straight. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your chin slightly. Take 3 deep breaths, making your exhale longer than your inhale. Put a slight smile on your face. Hold this posture for at least 30 seconds while continuing to ask yourself what the most confident version of yourself would do. Here's why this works. Your brain doesn't just influence your body. Your body influences your brain. When you change your physical state, you send different signals to your brain about how you should feel. Research shows that confident posture increases testosterone and decreases cortisol within minutes, creating the actual neurochemical state of confidence. But there's a 4th step that makes this technique extraordinarily powerful: mental rehearsal. While you're in this confident physical state, you're going to mentally rehearse handling the current situation with complete confidence. You're going to see yourself succeeding, feeling calm and capable, and achieving the outcome you want. This mental rehearsal is incredibly important because your brain doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you rehearse confidence, you're creating neural pathways as if you've actually experienced being confident in this situation. You're pre-programming your brain for success. The entire process takes less than 2 minutes. But it creates changes that last for hours, days, or even permanently. Each time you use this technique, you're strengthening the confidence pathways and weakening the doubt pathways. You're training your brain to choose confidence as its default response. But here's what makes this technique different from everything else you've tried. It works with self-doubt rather than against it. Most confidence techniques try to suppress or ignore doubt, which creates internal conflict and makes the doubt stronger. This technique acknowledges the doubt, redirects it, and transforms it into fuel for confidence. Let me give you a specific example of how this works in real life. Imagine you're about to give a presentation and self-doubt starts creeping in. Your brain starts thinking, what if I mess up? What if people judge me? What if I forget what to say? Instead of fighting these thoughts or trying to think positively, you use the neural override protocol. First, you thank your brain. Thank you, brain, for trying to protect me from embarrassment, but I've got this handled. This immediately reduces the intensity of the doubt because you're not creating resistance. Second, you ask the redirection question. What would the most confident version of myself do right now? Your brain immediately starts accessing memories of times you've been confident, times you've spoken well, times you've connected with an audience. Third, you embody confidence. You stand tall, breathe deeply, smile slightly, and hold this posture while your brain processes the confidence memories and creates new neural connections. Fourth, you mentally rehearse. You see yourself giving an amazing presentation, connecting with the audience, delivering your points clearly and feeling proud of your performance. The result? Within 2 minutes, you've literally rewired your brain to associate this presentation with confidence rather than fear. You've created new neural pathways that support success rather than self-doubt. And because you've done this while in a confident physical state, your brain has anchored these new pathways to the neurochemical state of confidence. The technique becomes more powerful with practice because each time you use it, you're strengthening the same neural networks. Eventually, confidence becomes your automatic response rather than doubt. You've literally reprogrammed your brain's default settings. Chapter 4. Breaking free from the validation trap. There's a hidden addiction that's keeping you trapped in self-doubt. And most people don't even realize they have it. It's the addiction to external validation. The need for other people's approval, recognition, and acceptance to feel good about yourself. This addiction is one of the primary fuel sources for self-doubt. And until you break free from it, you'll always be vulnerable to having your confidence shaken by other people's opinions. Here's how the validation trap works. Somewhere along the way, probably in childhood, you learned that your worth was conditional. You learned that you were valuable when you performed well, when you made others happy. When you met expectations, you learned that love, acceptance, and approval had to be earned. This conditioning created a neural pathway that equates your self-worth with external feedback. The problem is that external validation is inherently unreliable. People are inconsistent, distracted, and often focused on their own problems. They might not notice your achievements. They might be having a bad day when they interact with you. Or they might have their own insecurities that cause them to withhold approval. When you depend on external validation for your sense of self-worth, you're essentially handing control of your confidence to random, unpredictable factors. But there's something even more insidious about the validation trap. It trains your brain to look for evidence of what others think of you rather than focusing on your own growth, progress, and values. You become hypersensitive to facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, and social cues. You start interpreting neutral responses as negative. You begin reading rejection into situations where none exists. This hypersensitivity to external feedback creates a state of chronic anxiety because you're constantly scanning your environment for threats to your self-worth. Your nervous system is always on alert, always ready to defend against potential criticism or rejection. This state of hypervigilance is exhausting and makes it impossible to access your natural confidence and creativity. The validation trap also creates what psychologists call performance anxiety. When your self-worth depends on external approval, every interaction becomes a performance. Every conversation becomes a test. Every social situation becomes an opportunity to either gain or lose value. This pressure to perform perfectly is one of the primary sources of self-doubt because perfection is impossible and the fear of making mistakes becomes overwhelming. But here's what most people don't understand. The need for external validation is actually a symptom of disconnection from your authentic self. When you know who you are, when you're clear about your values, when you understand your inherent worth, external opinions become interesting information rather than determinants of your self-value. Breaking free from the validation trap requires a fundamental shift in how you define yourself. Instead of defining yourself through other people's eyes, you need to learn to see yourself through your own eyes. Instead of measuring your worth by external achievements, you need to learn to value your internal growth. Instead of seeking approval from others, you need to learn to approve of yourself. This shift isn't just philosophical, it's neurological. When you stop depending on external validation, your brain stops producing the stress hormones associated with social anxiety. Your nervous system relaxes. Your creativity increases. Your natural confidence emerges. You become more authentic because you're not constantly adjusting your behavior to gain approval. The first step in breaking the validation trap is recognizing how often you seek external validation throughout the day. Start paying attention to how many times you check social media for likes and comments. Notice how often you fish for compliments or reassurance. Observe how much you modify your behavior based on what you think others want to see. Become aware of how often you interpret other people's reactions as commentary on your worth. This awareness is crucial because you can't change what you don't notice. Most people seek validation so automatically that they don't even realize they're doing it. It's become an unconscious habit, a default response to uncertainty or insecurity. By bringing this pattern into conscious awareness, you create the opportunity to choose different responses. The second step is learning to validate yourself. This means celebrating your own achievements, acknowledging your own growth and appreciating your own efforts regardless of whether anyone else notices or cares. It means developing an internal feedback system that's more reliable and more accurate than external feedback. Self-validation isn't about being arrogant or ignoring constructive feedback. It's about having a stable sense of self-worth that doesn't fluctuate based on other people's moods, opinions, or attention levels. It's about knowing your own value independent of external confirmation. The third step is developing what I call outcome independence. This means taking action based on your values and goals rather than on the potential for approval or recognition. It means doing what you believe is right even when others might not understand or support your choices. It means pursuing your authentic path even when it doesn't lead to external validation. Outcome independence is incredibly liberating because it frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and fearing rejection. When you're not attached to specific outcomes or responses from others, you can be fully present in your interactions. You can be authentic because you're not trying to create any particular impression. You can take risks because you're not afraid of judgment. The fourth step is learning to trust your own judgment. The validation trap exists because you've learned to doubt your own perceptions, opinions, and decisions. You've been conditioned to believe that others are better judges of your worth, your choices, and your potential than you are. But this is fundamentally false. You are the only person who has access to your internal experience. You're the only one who knows your intentions, your efforts, your challenges, and your growth. You're the only one who can accurately assess whether you're living in alignment with your values and moving toward your goals. Other people can offer perspectives and feedback, but they can never be better judges of your life than you are. Learning to trust your own judgment requires practice and patience. Start with small decisions and notice that you're capable of making good choices. Pay attention to your intuition and notice that it often provides valuable guidance. Reflect on your past decisions and notice that even your mistakes led to learning and growth. The final step in breaking the validation trap is developing what I call internal celebration. This means acknowledging and appreciating your efforts, your progress, and your achievements regardless of whether anyone else notices or celebrates them. It means being your own biggest supporter, your own encourager, your own brand. Internal celebration creates a positive feedback loop that strengthens your self-worth and confidence. When you regularly acknowledge your own value, your brain creates neural pathways that support self-appreciation. You become less dependent on external recognition because you're consistently providing internal recognition. Chapter 5. Silencing your inner critic forever. Your inner critic is not your voice. This is the most important thing you need to understand about that harsh judgmental commentary running through your mind. That voice that tells you you're not good enough, that points out every flaw, that predicts failure and catastrophe. That's not you thinking. That's a program running in your subconscious. And like any program, it can be identified, understood, and ultimately shut down. Most people believe their inner critic is trying to help them. They think it's keeping them humble, motivating them to improve, or protecting them from disappointment. This is the greatest deception your mind plays on you. Your inner critic is not a helpful advisor. It's a saboteur. It's not keeping you safe. It's keeping you small. It's not motivating you to improve. It's paralyzing you with perfectionism and fear. The inner critic develops early in life as a response to criticism, rejection, or invalidation. When you were young and someone criticized you, your developing brain created a defense mechanism. If you could criticize yourself first, maybe you could avoid external criticism. If you could point out your own flaws, maybe others wouldn't notice them. If you could predict your own failures, maybe you could prevent them. This defense mechanism served a purpose when you were powerless and dependent on others for survival and care. But now it's become a tyrant that rules your mental landscape, creating constant stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. What once protected you is now destroying you. The inner critic operates through several distinct strategies, and recognizing these strategies is the first step in disarming it. The first strategy is catastrophizing. Taking any small problem or mistake and imagining the worst possible outcomes. You make a minor error at work and your inner critic immediately starts predicting that you'll be fired, that you'll never find another job, that you'll end up homeless and alone. The second strategy is comparison. Your inner critic constantly measures you against others and always finds you lacking. It focuses on other people's highlights while comparing them to your behind-the-scenes struggles. It ignores your unique circumstances, your different starting points, your personal challenges, and creates impossible standards based on other people's apparent successes. The third strategy is perfectionism. Your inner critic sets impossibly high standards and then uses any failure to meet those standards as evidence of your inadequacy. It tells you that anything less than perfect is failure, that making mistakes means you're incompetent, that struggling means you're weak. The fourth strategy is mind readating. Your inner critic assumes it knows what other people are thinking about you. And it always assumes they're thinking something negative. Someone doesn't respond to your text immediately, and your inner critic decides they're angry with you. Someone seems distracted during a conversation and your inner critic concludes they find you boring. The fifth strategy is fortune telling. Your inner critic predicts negative outcomes for everything you attempt. It tells you that you'll fail before you even try, that you'll be rejected before you even apply, that you'll be embarrassed before you even speak up. These strategies might sound familiar because they're running constantly in the background of your consciousness. You've become so accustomed to this internal commentary that you think it's normal that everyone experiences this level of self-criticism. But this is not normal and it's definitely not helpful. The inner critic creates what neuroscientists call cognitive load. It uses up mental energy that could be directed toward creativity, problem solving, and growth. When part of your brain is constantly engaged in self-criticism, less processing power is available for the thinking that actually moves your life forward. Research shows that people with highly active inner critics have increased activity in the brain regions associated with threat detection and decreased activity in regions associated with creative thinking and executive function. Essentially, your inner critic keeps your brain in a state of chronic stress that impairs your ability to perform at your best. But here's the powerful truth. You can learn to distinguish between your authentic voice and your inner critic's voice. Your authentic voice is curious, encouraging, and solution-focused. It acknowledges challenges without catastrophizing. It recognizes mistakes without condemning. It sees problems as opportunities for growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. Your inner critic's voice is harsh, absolute, and fear-based. It uses words like always, never, should, and must. It focuses on what's wrong rather than what's possible. It predicts disaster and assumes the worst about yourself and others. The technique for silencing your inner critic is based on a principle from cognitive behavioral therapy called cognitive diffusion. Instead of trying to argue with your inner critic or prove it wrong, you learn to see its thoughts as mental events rather than facts. You learn to observe the criticism without believing it or being controlled by it. Here's the specific process. When you notice your inner critic starting its commentary, you're going to do something that sounds simple but is profoundly powerful. You're going to say, "There's my inner critic again." That's it. You're not going to argue with it, analyze it, or try to stop it. You're just going to name it. This simple act of naming creates what psychologists call metacognitive awareness. Awareness of your own thinking processes. When you can observe your thoughts rather than being consumed by them, they lose their power over you. You create space between yourself and the criticism. Space where choice becomes possible. After naming your inner critic, you're going to ask yourself one question. What would I say to a good friend in this situation? This question activates your compassionate mind and gives you access to the kind, encouraging voice that you naturally use with people you care about. Most people are far kinder to their friends than they are to themselves. But this question helps you extend that same kindness inward. The goal isn't to eliminate your inner critic completely. That's neither possible nor necessary. The goal is to reduce its volume and frequency while strengthening your authentic, compassionate voice. Over time, as you consistently name the inner critic and activate your compassionate voice, the neural pathways supporting self-criticism weaken, while the pathways supporting self-compassion strengthen. This process is like training a new muscle. At first, it requires conscious effort and attention, but with practice, it becomes automatic. Eventually, self-compassion becomes your default response rather than self-criticism. You develop what researchers call psychological resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, learn from mistakes, and maintain confidence in the face of challenges. The transformation isn't just psychological, it's physiological. When you silence your inner critic and activate self-compassion, your stress hormones decrease. Your immune system strengthens and your brain function improves. You literally become healthier and more capable when you learn to treat yourself with the same kindness you would show a good friend. Chapter 6. The 5 Fatal Mistakes That Keep You Trapped in Self-Doubt. Now that you understand the core technique for rewiring self-doubt, I need to warn you about the 5 critical mistakes that cause most people to fail when trying to build lasting confidence. These mistakes are so common and so subtle that even people who understand the science of neuroplasticity fall into these traps. Avoiding these mistakes is the difference between temporary improvement and permanent transformation. The first fatal mistake is trying to eliminate self-doubt completely. This sounds counterintuitive, but the goal is not to never experience doubt again. Doubt is actually a normal human emotion that serves important functions. It can signal when you need more information, when you should prepare more thoroughly, or when genuine risks exist. The problem isn't doubt itself. It's when doubt becomes your default response to everything. When it paralyzes you, instead of informing you. When you try to eliminate doubt completely, you create internal resistance. Your brain interprets this as a threat to its protective mechanisms and it fights back by generating even more doubt. This is why people who try to force themselves to feel confident often end up feeling more anxious and uncertain than before. You're essentially declaring war on part of your own mind. And internal wars are exhausting and unwinnable. Instead of trying to eliminate doubt, your goal should be to change your relationship with it. When doubt arises, instead of seeing it as evidence that you're not capable, see it as information that you can use to prepare better or make more informed decisions. Instead of letting doubt control your actions, let it inform your actions while you make decisions based on your values and goals. The second fatal mistake is practicing the techniques only when you're already feeling confident. This is like only exercising when you're already fit. The neural rewiring happens most powerfully when you practice the techniques while you're actually experiencing self-doubt. Those moments of discomfort and uncertainty are when your brain is most open to creating new pathways. Many people avoid using confidence techniques when they're feeling doubtful because it feels fake or forced. They think they need to wait until they feel better to practice feeling better. But this backwards approach ensures that the old neural pathways remain strongest. You have to be willing to practice confidence while feeling doubtful, to embody strength while feeling weak, to act with certainty while feeling uncertain. This doesn't mean pretending you don't feel doubt or suppressing your emotions. It means acknowledging the doubt while choosing to respond from a place of strength. It means feeling the fear and taking aligned action anyway. It means using the techniques precisely when you need them most, not when they're easiest to use. The third fatal mistake is expecting linear progress. Neuroplasticity doesn't work like a straight line from point A to point B, it works more like a spiral staircase. You're always moving upward, but sometimes it feels like you're going in circles or even moving backward. Some days you'll feel confident and capable. Other days, despite all your practice, the old doubt patterns will resurface with surprising intensity. This apparent regression is actually a normal part of the rewiring process. Your brain has backup systems and redundant pathways. When you start weakening the primary self-doubt pathways, your brain might temporarily activate secondary or tertiary doubt pathways. This can make it feel like you're losing progress when you're actually making profound changes at deeper levels. Understanding this prevents you from giving up during the inevitable challenging periods when old patterns resurface. Instead of seeing it as failure, recognize it as your brain's last-ditch effort to maintain familiar patterns. These resurgences often happen right before major breakthroughs, like the darkness before dawn. The fourth fatal mistake is using the techniques mechanically without emotional engagement. Your brain responds to emotional intensity, not just repetition. Going through the motions of confident posture or positive self-talk without genuine feeling creates weak neural pathways that are easily overwhelmed by emotionally charged doubt patterns. This is why visualization works better when you can actually feel the emotions of success. Why affirmations work better when you can generate genuine belief. And why confident posture works better when you can embody the feeling of strength. Your brain remembers emotionally significant experiences more powerfully than neutral ones. To avoid this mistake, focus on generating authentic, positive emotions during your practice. Remember times when you felt genuinely proud of yourself, genuinely capable, genuinely strong. Use these emotional memories to fuel your confidence-building practices. The combination of specific techniques with genuine positive emotion creates the most powerful neural changes. The fifth fatal mistake is practicing in isolation without real-world application. You can spend hours visualizing confidence, rehearsing positive self-talk, and practicing powerful posture. But if you don't apply these skills in actual challenging situations, the neural pathways remain theoretical rather than practical. Your brain learns through experience, not just imagination. While mental practice is valuable, it must be combined with behavioral practice. You have to actually speak up in meetings, actually start conversations with strangers, actually apply for opportunities that stretch you. Each real-world application strengthens the confidence pathways and proves to your brain that the new patterns work in actual life. Start with smaller challenges and gradually work your way up to bigger ones. Each success, no matter how small, provides evidence that your new confident responses are reliable and effective. This evidence accumulates over time, creating unshakable self-belief based on actual experience rather than just positive thinking. The key to avoiding all these mistakes is approaching confidence building as a practice rather than a destination. Like physical fitness, confidence requires ongoing attention and regular exercise. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be fit forever. And you don't practice confidence techniques once and expect to be confident forever. But also, like physical fitness, the results compound over time. Each practice session makes the next one easier. Each real-world application makes the next one more natural. Each success makes the next challenge less intimidating. What starts as conscious effort eventually becomes unconscious competence. Chapter 7. The Confidence Spiral. How Small Wins Create Unstoppable Momentum. There's a powerful psychological phenomenon that most people never learn to harness deliberately, but it's the secret behind every major confidence transformation. It's called the confidence spiral. And understanding how to create and amplify it will accelerate your progress beyond what you thought possible. The confidence spiral works like this. Small confident actions create small positive results which increase your belief in your capabilities, which makes you more likely to take bigger confident actions which create bigger positive results which further increase your self-belief, and so on. Each cycle builds upon the previous one, creating exponential rather than linear growth in confidence. Most people try to build confidence by taking big dramatic actions, applying for dream jobs, starting major projects, or making significant life changes. While these actions can certainly build confidence if they succeed, they also carry high risk of failure. And failure at this level can actually damage confidence and reinforce self-doubt patterns. The confidence spiral approach is different. It starts with actions that are challenging enough to require courage, but small enough to virtually guarantee success. These small wins prove to your brain that confident action leads to positive outcomes, which makes your brain more willing to support confident action in the future. Here's how to deliberately create confidence spirals in your life. First, identify your current confidence comfort zone. This is the level of challenge where you feel some nervousness but not overwhelming anxiety. Where success requires effort but is highly probable. This might be speaking up once in a meeting, introducing yourself to one new person at an event, or sharing one piece of creative work. The key is choosing actions that require you to override self-doubt, but aren't so challenging that they trigger your brain's threat detection systems. If an action feels terrifying, it's probably too big for your current confidence level. If an action feels completely comfortable, it's probably too small to create meaningful growth. Second, use the neural override protocol before taking each confident action. Remember, thank your brain for trying to protect you. Ask what the most confident version of yourself would do. Embody confident physiology and mentally rehearse success. This preparation primes your nervous system for confident action and increases the likelihood of positive outcomes. Third, immediately after completing each confident action, take time to acknowledge and celebrate the win. This step is crucial because it reinforces the neural pathways you just strengthened. Tell yourself, "I did it," or "That was brave," or "I'm proud of myself for taking that action." Let yourself feel good about the accomplishment. Even if it seems small from the outside, your brain pays attention to what you pay attention to. When you celebrate small confident actions, you're telling your brain that this is important, that this is the kind of behavior you want to repeat. This positive reinforcement makes your brain more likely to support similar actions in the future. Fourth, gradually increase the challenge level. Once you've successfully completed confident actions at your current level several times, it's time to stretch to the next level. The key word here is gradually. Don't jump from speaking up once in a meeting to giving a keynote presentation. Go from speaking up once to speaking up twice, or from sharing one idea to asking one question. Each level should feel like a natural progression from the previous one. If you find yourself repeatedly avoiding actions at a particular level, it probably means you've increased the challenge too quickly. Step back to a more comfortable level and build more success there before advancing. Fifth, track your confidence spiral in writing. Keep a simple log of confident actions you take and positive results you experience. This serves several important purposes. It provides concrete evidence of your growth. It helps you recognize patterns in what works best for you. And it creates a reference you can return to when self-doubt tries to convince you that you're not making progress. Your confidence log doesn't need to be elaborate. A simple note like "Spoke up in team meeting," "My idea was well received," or "Started conversation with stranger at coffee shop, had nice chat for 5 minutes" is sufficient. The act of writing it down makes the experience more memorable and reinforces the positive neural pathways. The confidence spiral becomes self-sustaining over time. As you accumulate evidence of your capability through small wins, your baseline confidence level increases. Actions that once felt challenging become comfortable, and you naturally seek out bigger challenges. Your identity begins to shift from someone who doubts themselves to someone who takes confident action. This identity shift is crucial because identity drives behavior more powerfully than willpower. When you see yourself as a confident person, confident actions feel natural and automatic. When you see yourself as someone who takes action despite uncertainty, courage becomes part of your character rather than something you have to force. One of the most powerful aspects of the confidence spiral is that it becomes visible to others. People start noticing your increased presence, your willingness to contribute, your positive energy. This external feedback further reinforces your internal changes and often creates opportunities you wouldn't have had access to before. But here's something important. The confidence spiral isn't just about taking action in the external world. It also includes internal actions like challenging negative thoughts, practicing self-compassion, and maintaining positive self-talk. Each time you catch your inner critic and respond with kindness instead of self-attack, you're taking a confident action that deserves celebration. The spiral effect also applies to how you handle setbacks. As your confidence grows, failures and rejections become information rather than evidence of inadequacy. You develop what psychologists call resilient attributional style. The tendency to see setbacks as temporary, specific, and changeable rather than permanent, pervasive, and personal. This resilient thinking style creates an upward spiral even during challenging periods. Instead of setbacks destroying your confidence, they become opportunities to practice emotional resilience, problem-solving skills, and persistent action. Each time you bounce back from a setback, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your circumstances. Chapter 8. Rewiring Social Confidence. Never feel awkward again. Social confidence is where self-doubt shows up most painfully for most people. It's one thing to doubt yourself in private, but when that doubt manifests in social situations, when you stumble over words, when you can't think of anything to say, when you assume people are judging you, it feels like your inadequacy is on display for everyone to see. But here's what you need to understand. What you interpret as social awkwardness is usually just your nervous system being hijacked by ancient survival programming that's completely irrelevant to modern social situations. Your brain is treating casual conversations like life or death situations. And when your brain thinks you're in danger, it shuts down the higher-order thinking functions that allow for smooth social interaction. This survival programming developed when humans lived in small tribes where social rejection could literally mean death. Being cast out from the group meant losing access to food, shelter, and protection. So, your brain developed extremely sensitive social threat detection systems designed to keep you safe by avoiding any behavior that might lead to rejection. The problem is that these systems haven't been updated for modern life. Your brain can't tell the difference between being rejected by your life-sustaining tribe and having an awkward conversation with a coworker. It responds to both situations with the same fight-or-flight response that makes smooth social interaction nearly impossible. When your nervous system is activated by perceived social threat, several things happen that create the experience of social awkwardness. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, working memory, and social reasoning, goes offline. This is why you can't think of anything intelligent to say, why you forget people's names immediately after being introduced, and why you replay conversations later wishing you had said something different. Simultaneously, your brain starts scanning for threats, which means you become hyper-aware of any signs that the other person might be judging you negatively. You notice every facial expression, every pause in conversation, every shift in body language, and you interpret neutral or ambiguous signals as negative. This creates a feedback loop where your anxiety about being judged makes you more likely to perceive judgment, which increases your anxiety. Your body also responds to perceived social threat by activating the sympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and stress hormones flood your system. These physical changes are obvious to you and often obvious to others, which creates additional anxiety about your anxiety being noticed. But here's the breakthrough insight. You can train your nervous system to remain calm in social situations by gradually exposing yourself to social interaction while practicing specific calming techniques. This process, called systematic desensitization, literally rewires your brain's response to social situations. The technique starts with understanding that social confidence isn't about being the most charismatic person in the room or never feeling nervous. It's about being able to remain present and authentic even when you feel nervous. It's about having access to your natural personality and intelligence even when your nervous system is somewhat activated. Here's the specific protocol for rewiring social confidence. Before entering any social situation, you're going to prepare your nervous system using a technique called physiological downregulation. This involves taking control of your breathing, your posture, and your facial expression to signal safety to your brain. Take 5 deep breaths where your exhale is longer than your inhale. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and tells your brain that you're safe. Stand or sit with confident posture. Shoulders back, spine straight, head level. This sends signals to your brain that you're capable and in control. Put a slight, genuine smile on your face. This releases endorphins and creates positive emotional states that support social connection. During social interactions, you're going to use what I call anchor phrases. Specific things you can say that require minimal creativity, but keep conversations flowing naturally. These phrases serve as bridges when your mind goes blank, giving your nervous system time to settle while keeping the interaction moving forward. Examples of anchor phrases include, "That's interesting. Tell me more about that. How did you get into that? What's that been like for you? And I hadn't thought about it that way before." These phrases work because they shift focus to the other person, which takes pressure off you while encouraging them to share more, which gives you more material to respond to. The key insight about social confidence is that most people are far more focused on themselves than they are on judging you. They're thinking about how they're coming across, what they're going to say next, their own insecurities and concerns. The spotlight effect, the tendency to overestimate how much others are paying attention to you, is one of the primary sources of social anxiety. When you realize that people are mostly thinking about themselves, it becomes much easier to relax in social situations. That awkward thing you said that you've been replaying in your mind, the other person probably forgot about it within minutes because they were too busy thinking about their own contribution to the conversation. Another powerful technique for social confidence is something called curiosity over performance. Instead of trying to be interesting, impressive, or entertaining, focus on being genuinely curious about the other person. Ask questions because you actually want to know the answers. Show interest in their experiences, their perspectives, their stories. This approach works because it takes the pressure off you to perform and puts it on them to share. Most people love talking about themselves and their experiences. So when you're genuinely curious, you're actually giving them a gift. Curiosity also activates the learning centers in your brain, which are incompatible with threat detection systems. When you're in learning mode, you can't simultaneously be in threat detection mode. Practice what I call social experiments rather than social performances. Approach conversations with the attitude of "I wonder what will happen if I try this" rather than "I need to make a good impression." This experimental mindset removes the pressure for specific outcomes and allows you to be more spontaneous and authentic. Start with low-stakes social interactions where the outcome doesn't matter much. Conversations with cashiers, casual chats with neighbors, brief exchanges with strangers in elevators. Use these interactions to practice staying present, asking questions, and sharing authentic responses without worrying about creating lasting impressions. As your comfort level increases, gradually move to higher stakes interactions, networking events, social gatherings, deeper conversations with people you care about. Each successful interaction builds evidence that you can handle social situations competently, which reduces your nervous system's tendency to perceive them as threats. The goal isn't to become someone who never feels nervous in social situations. The goal is to become someone who can feel nervous and still show up authentically. Someone whose nervous system settles quickly rather than spiraling into anxiety. Someone who can access their natural intelligence and personality even when they feel activated. Chapter 9. The Imposter Syndrome Antidote. Claiming your rightful place. Imposter syndrome is perhaps the most sophisticated form of self-doubt because it specifically targets your successes and achievements. Just when you should be feeling most confident, when you've been promoted, when you've achieved a goal, when others recognize your capabilities. Imposter syndrome whispers that you don't deserve it, that you fooled everyone, that you're about to be exposed as a fraud. This psychological phenomenon affects up to 70% of people at some point in their lives. But it's particularly common among high achievers. The more successful you become, the more imposter syndrome tries to convince you that your success is due to luck, timing, or deception rather than your actual capabilities. Understanding imposter syndrome requires understanding how your brain processes success and failure differently. When you fail or make mistakes, your brain has a clear explanation. You weren't good enough. You didn't try hard enough. You don't have what it takes. These explanations, while painful, feel internally consistent with self-doubt patterns. But when you succeed, especially when you succeed beyond your expectations, your brain struggles to integrate this information with existing self-doubt beliefs. Success contradicts the narrative that you're not capable. So, your brain has to find alternative explanations. Instead of updating its beliefs about your capabilities, it maintains the self-doubt narrative by attributing success to external factors. This creates the core experience of imposter syndrome. The feeling that your achievements don't reflect your true abilities. That you've somehow tricked people into overestimating your competence and that eventually everyone will discover the truth about your inadequacy. It's a way for your brain to maintain familiar self-doubt patterns even in the face of contradictory evidence. Imposter syndrome manifests in several distinct patterns. The perfectionist imposter sets impossibly high standards and focuses intensely on any mistakes or areas for improvement while discounting overall success. The expert imposter fears being exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable and avoids situations where they might not have all the answers. The soloist imposter believes that needing help or support is a sign of weakness and tries to handle everything independently. The natural genius imposter expects to master things quickly and easily and sees struggle or effort as evidence of inadequacy. The superwoman or superman imposter tries to excel in all areas of life simultaneously and feels like a fraud if they can't maintain perfect performance across all domains. Each of these patterns represents a different way that imposter syndrome protects self-doubt beliefs from being challenged by success. By maintaining the narrative that you're not truly capable, imposter syndrome ensures that your achievements don't threaten your brain's familiar identity as someone who should doubt themselves. The antidote to imposter syndrome isn't trying to convince yourself that you deserve your success or attempting to eliminate all feelings of uncertainty about your capabilities. The antidote is learning to reframe your relationship with both success and uncertainty in ways that support continued growth rather than self-doubt. The first step is recognizing that feeling like an imposter is often a sign that you're growing, stretching, and taking on challenges that are expanding your capabilities. When you're doing things you've never done before, it's natural to feel uncertain about your ability to handle them well. This uncertainty isn't evidence that you don't belong. It's evidence that you're pushing your boundaries. Reframe imposter feelings as growth feelings rather than fraud feelings. When you feel uncertain about your qualifications for a role, remind yourself that competence develops through experience, not before it. When you feel like you don't know enough, remind yourself that learning is an ongoing process, not a prerequisite for getting started. The second step is developing what I call evidence-based self-assessment. Instead of relying on feelings to determine your worthiness, start collecting concrete evidence of your capabilities, contributions, and growth. Keep a record of positive feedback you receive, problems you solve, goals you achieve, and skills you develop. This evidence serves as a reality check when imposter syndrome tries to convince you that your success is undeserved. You can refer to specific examples of your competence, specific instances where your contributions made a difference, specific skills you've developed through effort and practice. The third step is understanding that everyone is making it up as they go along to some degree. The people who seem most confident and competent in their roles are often figuring things out in real time, learning from mistakes, and adapting their approach based on new information. The difference is that they don't interpret this uncertainty as evidence of inadequacy. Professional competence isn't about having all the answers or never making mistakes. It's about being able to learn quickly, adapt to new situations, solve problems creatively, and recover from setbacks effectively. These meta skills are more important than domain-specific knowledge and can be transferred across different roles and situations. The fourth step is claiming your achievements without qualification or deflection. When someone compliments your work, resist the urge to minimize it or attribute it to external factors instead of saying it was nothing or I just got lucky. Practice saying thank you and allowing yourself to feel proud of your accomplishments. This isn't about becoming arrogant or taking credit for things you didn't do. It's about accurately acknowledging your contributions and allowing yourself to feel good about your efforts and results. When you consistently deflect, praise or minimize achievements, you train your brain to discount positive evidence about your capabilities. The fifth step is embracing what I call confident uncertainty. This means being comfortable with not knowing everything while still taking action and making decisions. It means being willing to learn in public, to ask questions, to admit when you don't know something, and to figure things out as you go. Confident uncertainty is the opposite of imposter syndrome because it accepts not knowing as a natural part of growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. When you're comfortable with uncertainty, you don't need to pretend to be more knowledgeable than you are, which eliminates the fear of being found out. The final step is understanding that worthiness isn't something you earn through achievement. It's something you recognize as inherent. You don't become worthy of opportunities, respect, or success by proving yourself. You're already worthy, and achievements are simply expressions of that inherent worth rather than evidence that creates it. This shift from earning worthiness to recognizing worthiness eliminates the core fear that drives imposter syndrome. The fear that you don't deserve what you have. When you understand that everyone deserves opportunities to grow, contribute, and succeed, you can focus on making the most of your opportunities, rather than questioning whether you deserve them. Chapter 10. Building Antifragile Confidence. Getting stronger from setbacks. Most people think the goal of confidence building is to become bulletproof. To reach a state where nothing can shake your self-belief or derail your progress. But this approach to confidence is actually fragile because it depends on things going well, on avoiding failure, on maintaining a perfect track record. The moment something goes wrong, fragile confidence shatters. There's a better way to build confidence that actually becomes stronger through adversity, that uses challenges and setbacks as fuel for growth rather than threats to self-worth. This is called antifragile confidence. And it's the difference between confidence that crumbles under pressure and confidence that thrives under pressure. The concept of anti-fragility comes from research showing that some systems don't just resist stress, they actually benefit from it. Your muscles become stronger when they're challenged by resistance. Your immune system becomes more robust when exposed to manageable threats. Your brain develops better problem-solving abilities when faced with complex challenges. Antifragile confidence works the same way. Instead of seeing setbacks as evidence that you're not capable, you see them as opportunities to develop capabilities you didn't know you had. Instead of viewing failure as proof that you should doubt yourself, you view failure as information that helps you adjust your approach and improve your strategy. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending that setbacks don't hurt. Disappointment, frustration, and temporary discouragement are natural responses to things not going as planned. Antifragile confidence allows you to feel these emotions fully while maintaining your core belief in your ability to learn, adapt, and ultimately succeed. The foundation of antifragile confidence is what psychologists call growth mindset. The belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. When you have a growth mindset, challenges become opportunities to get better rather than tests of whether you're good enough. But antifragile confidence goes beyond growth mindset. It includes the understanding that setbacks and failures often contain the seeds of breakthrough insights, innovative solutions, and unexpected opportunities. Many of the most successful people in the world describe their biggest failures as their most valuable learning experiences and turning points. Building antifragile confidence requires a specific framework for processing setbacks that extracts maximum learning and growth from minimum suffering. This framework is based on what resilience researchers call post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon where people not only recover from difficult experiences but actually become stronger, wiser, and more capable as a result. The framework has 5 key components. First is rapid emotional processing. When something goes wrong, allow yourself to feel the initial disappointment, frustration, or discouragement for a specific limited time period. Don't try to suppress these emotions or jump immediately to lessons learned. Give yourself permission to feel bad about bad outcomes. Set a timer for 10-15 minutes and allow yourself to fully experience whatever emotions come up. This might include anger at the situation, disappointment in yourself, fear about future implications, or sadness about missed opportunities. The key is to feel these emotions consciously and completely rather than trying to avoid them or getting stuck in them. Second is perspective expansion. After processing the initial emotions, step back and look at the setback from multiple perspectives. Ask yourself, how will this matter in 1 year? What would I tell a friend in this situation? What would someone who cares about me say about this setback? How might this experience benefit me in ways I can't see yet? This perspective expansion prevents you from catastrophizing or making the setback more significant than it actually islanded. It also helps you access the part of your mind that's naturally wise, compassionate, and solution-focused rather than being trapped in the part that's reactive and self-critical. Third is learning extraction. This is where you mine the setback for insights, lessons, and growth opportunities. Ask yourself specific questions. What did I learn about myself from this experience? What skills do I need to develop? What would I do differently next time? What assumptions do I need to challenge? What new strategies do I want to try? The goal isn't to find simple answers, but to extract nuanced insights that will make you more effective in the future. Sometimes the most valuable learning isn't about what you did wrong, but about what you discovered about your resilience, your values, or your priorities. Fourth is identity reinforcement. This is where anti-fragile confidence differs most dramatically from fragile confidence. Instead of seeing setbacks as evidence against your capabilities, you see them as evidence of your willingness to take risks, push boundaries, and attempt difficult things. You reinforce your identity as someone who tries, who learns, who persists, who grows. Tell yourself, I'm the kind of person who goes for it even when success isn't guaranteed. I'm someone who takes intelligent risks and learns from the results. I'm building capabilities that will serve me for the rest of my life. This identity reinforcement is crucial because it maintains your self-respect and self-belief even when external results are disappointing. Fifth is strategic adaptation. This is where you take the insights from your learning extraction and use them to modify your approach, improve your strategy, or adjust your goals. The key is making changes based on learning rather than fear. Adapting your methods while maintaining your vision. This might mean developing new skills, seeking different resources, adjusting timelines, modifying strategies, or even pivoting to different approaches entirely. The willingness to adapt based on feedback while maintaining core confidence in your ability to succeed is a hallmark of anti-fragile confidence. Anti-fragile confidence also requires what I call scenario planning. The practice of mentally preparing for potential setbacks before they occur. This isn't pessimistic thinking, it's strategic thinking. When you've already considered how you'll respond to various challenges, you're less likely to be derailed when they actually happen. Spend time visualizing potential obstacles and mentally rehearsing how you'll handle them with grace, learning, and persistence. This mental preparation builds confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes up and reduces the emotional impact of setbacks when they occur. The ultimate goal of anti-fragile confidence is reaching a state where you're genuinely excited about challenges because you know they're opportunities for growth. When you've experienced getting stronger through adversity multiple times, you develop what researchers call challenge appraisal. The automatic tendency to see difficult situations as opportunities rather than threats. This transformation in how you perceive challenges changes everything about how you approach life. You become more willing to take risks because you're confident in your ability to handle whatever results. You become more resilient because you've proven to yourself that you can not just survive setbacks, but thrive because of them. You become genuinely unstoppable because your confidence no longer depends on things going well. It actually increases when things get difficult. Chapter 11. The Advanced Neural Rewiring Protocol. Quantum Leaps in Confidence. Now that you've mastered the basic neural override protocol and understand how to build anti-fragile confidence, it's time to learn the advanced techniques that create quantum leaps in self-belief. These methods go beyond simple confidence building to actually restructure your fundamental relationship with uncertainty, challenge, and personal potential. The advanced protocol is based on a cutting-edge discovery in neuroscience called memory reconsolidation. Every time you remember a past experience, your brain briefly returns those memories to a malleable state where they can be updated, modified, or completely rewritten. This window of neuroplasticity lasts only a few minutes. But during that time, you can literally change how past experiences affect your current confidence. Most people carry limiting experiences from their past that continue to undermine their confidence in the present. Maybe you were criticized harshly as a child. Maybe you failed at something important. Maybe you were rejected or humiliated in a way that created lasting self-doubt. These memories operate like malware in your mental software, constantly running programs that tell you you're not capable, not worthy, not enough. But here's the revolutionary insight. These memories aren't fixed recordings of what happened. They're reconstructions that your brain creates each time you remember them. And each reconstruction is influenced by your current emotional state, your current beliefs, and your current level of understanding. This means you can intentionally influence how these memories are reconstructed to support confidence rather than undermine it. The advanced protocol specifically targets your most limiting memories and transforms them into sources of strength. The process requires precision and respect for your emotional well-being. So follow these steps exactly as outlined. First, identify one specific memory that still triggers self-doubt when you think about it. This should be a memory that feels emotionally charged, that still creates feelings of inadequacy, embarrassment, or fear when you recall it. Don't choose the most traumatic experience you can think of. Start with something moderately challenging that you can work with safely. Second, recall this memory while in a resourceful emotional state. Use the confidence physiology you've learned. Stand tall, breathe deeply, slight smile, and then bring the memory to mind. The key is maintaining your confident physical state while remembering the challenging experience. This creates a neurological conflict that opens the memory for reconsolidation. Third, while maintaining confident physiology and holding the memory in your awareness, ask yourself, what did this experience teach me about my resilience? What strength did I discover about myself? How did this experience contribute to who I am today? Look for evidence of your capability, your survival skills, your ability to learn and grow. The goal isn't to pretend the experience wasn't difficult, or to minimize any pain you felt. The goal is to extract the hidden gifts from the experience, the qualities you developed, the lessons you learned, the strength you demonstrated by surviving and continuing to grow. Fourth, create a new narrative about the experience that emphasizes your agency, your learning, and your growth. Instead of "I failed and it proved I wasn't good enough," try "I took a risk. It didn't work out as planned and I learned valuable lessons that made me stronger." Instead of "I was rejected because there's something wrong with me," try "I put myself out there courageously. And while this particular situation didn't work out, it taught me about my resilience and my willingness to be vulnerable." Fifth, while holding this new narrative and maintaining confident physiology, visualize your younger self in that challenging situation. Send love, encouragement, and appreciation to that version of yourself. Tell them how proud you are of their courage, their effort, their willingness to try. Thank them for the experiences that contributed to your growth. This step is crucial because it changes your relationship with your past self from disappointment or criticism to appreciation and love. When you view your past self with compassion and respect, you're literally rewiring the emotional associations connected to those memories. The advanced protocol also includes what I call future memory installation. This technique uses your brain's inability to distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones to create positive emotional associations with future challenges before you encounter them. Choose a specific situation you'll be facing soon that triggers some self-doubt, a presentation, a difficult conversation, a new challenge at work. Instead of worrying about what might go wrong, you're going to create a detailed mental movie of everything going right. See yourself approaching the situation with calm confidence. Watch yourself handling any unexpected challenges with grace and creativity. Observe yourself feeling proud and satisfied with your performance afterward. Make this visualization as detailed and emotionally engaging as possible, involving all your senses and generating genuine positive emotions. Repeat this visualization daily until the actual event occurs. Your brain will store these positive imagined experiences as if they were real memories, creating neural pathways that support confident performance when you actually face the situation. Another advanced technique is called identity time travel. This involves connecting with future versions of yourself who have already overcome current challenges and developed the confidence you're working toward. Close your eyes and imagine yourself 5 years from now having fully embodied unshakable self-belief. See this future self clearly, how they stand, how they speak, how they handle challenges. Notice their calm confidence, their authentic self-expression, their willingness to take risks and embrace uncertainty. Now imagine this future self giving you advice about your current situation. What would they tell you? What perspective would they offer? What encouragement would they share? This technique works because it activates what psychologists call possible selves, representations of who you could become that motivate current behavior and provide direction for growth. When you can clearly envision your confident future self, your brain begins working toward making that vision reality. The most advanced technique in the protocol is called confidence installation through peak state amplification. This involves identifying moments in your life when you felt absolutely confident, capable, and unstoppable. Then anchoring those feelings to specific physical gestures that you can use to instantly access those states. Think of a time when you felt completely confident. Maybe after achieving something important. Maybe when you felt deeply loved and accepted. Maybe when you were in flow doing something you excelled at. Relive this experience as vividly as possible, seeing what you saw, hearing what you heard, feeling what you felt. As the confident feelings reach their peak intensity, create a specific physical anchor, maybe touching your thumb and forefinger together, maybe placing your hand over your heart, maybe squeezing your fist. Hold this gesture while the confident feelings are strongest, creating a neurological connection between the physical action and the emotional state. Practice this anchoring process multiple times with different confident memories, always using the same physical gesture. Eventually, you'll be able to trigger these peak confidence states instantly by using your physical anchor, giving you access to your most resourceful emotional states whenever you need them. These advanced techniques require practice and patience, but they create changes that go far beyond surface-level confidence. They literally reconstruct your relationship with your past, your present, and your future in ways that support unshakable self-belief. You're not just building confidence. You're becoming someone for whom confidence is a natural automatic response to life's challenges. Chapter 12. The Confidence Contagion. How your transformation affects everyone around you. Something remarkable happens when you genuinely transform your relationship with self-doubt. Your confidence becomes contagious. The changes you make in your internal world begin manifesting in your external world in ways that affect not just you, but everyone you interact with. Understanding this ripple effect helps you appreciate the full scope of what you're creating and motivates you to stay committed to your growth. Confidence operates on multiple levels of communication that most people aren't consciously aware of. Obviously, there's what you say and do, the words you choose, the actions you take, the decisions you make. But underneath the obvious level, there's your energy, your presence, your nonverbal communication. These subtle signals often have more impact on others than your words. When you're operating from genuine confidence rather than trying to appear confident, your entire energy field changes. Your posture naturally becomes more open and grounded. Your voice becomes more resonant and calm. Your eye contact becomes more steady and warm. Your movements become more purposeful and relaxed. These changes happen automatically as your nervous system shifts from threat detection mode to growth and connection mode. People pick up on these changes immediately. Even if they can't articulate what's different about you, they sense that you're more present, more centered, more genuine. This makes them feel safer and more relaxed in your presence, which creates more positive interactions and deeper connections. But the contagion effect goes deeper than just making people feel comfortable around you. When you model genuine confidence, the kind that includes vulnerability, authenticity, and willingness to take risks, you give others permission to do the same. Your courage to be yourself gives them courage to be themselves. Your willingness to speak up gives them permission to share their thoughts. Your comfort with uncertainty helps them embrace their own growth edges. This is particularly powerful in professional environments where many people are caught in performance anxiety and imposter syndrome. When you show up authentically confident, when you ask questions without embarrassment, when you admit what you don't know while still contributing value, you create psychological safety for others to do the same. Teams and organizations with psychologically safe environments are dramatically more creative, innovative, and effective because people can focus on problem solving and collaboration rather than managing their image and avoiding mistakes. Your personal confidence transformation can literally change the culture of your workplace by modeling a different way of being. The confidence contagion is especially important in your personal relationships. When you stop seeking validation from others, when you become comfortable with yourself, when you can be present without needing to fix or impress anyone, your relationships naturally become deeper and more authentic. You stop trying to control other people's opinions of you, which paradoxically makes you more likable and trustworthy. You become genuinely curious about others rather than focused on how you're coming across. You can listen more deeply because you're not constantly monitoring your own performance in the conversation. This shift changes the entire dynamic of your relationships. People feel seen and heard in your presence. They feel like they can be themselves without judgment. They experience the relief of not having to manage your emotions or validate your worth. These changes create the conditions for real intimacy and connection. The contagion effect is particularly powerful with children and young people who are still forming their sense of self. When they see adults who are comfortable with themselves, who can handle mistakes with grace, who pursue their interests without needing constant approval, it gives them a model for how to navigate their own lives. Children learn more from what they observe than from what they're told. When they see you taking healthy risks, bouncing back from setbacks, speaking your truth with kindness, and pursuing your goals with persistence, they internalize these patterns as normal ways of being in the world. But the confidence contagion isn't just about positive influence on others. It also changes how others treat you. When you genuinely value yourself, others naturally treat you with more respect. When you set healthy boundaries, people learn to respect those boundaries. When you stop accepting poor treatment naturally decreases. This isn't about becoming arrogant or demanding. It's about modeling self-respect in a way that invites others to treat you respectfully. People generally rise or fall to meet your expectations of how you should be treated. And these expectations are communicated through your energy and behavior more than your words. Your confidence transformation also creates opportunities that weren't available before. People want to work with confident individuals, invest in confident entrepreneurs, befriend confident people, and follow confident leaders. Not because confidence guarantees success, but because confident people are more likely to take positive action, persist through challenges, and create value for others. As your confidence grows, you'll notice people seeking your advice, including you in important conversations, offering you opportunities, and generally treating you as someone whose opinions matter. This isn't because you've become a different person, but because you've removed the barriers that were preventing people from seeing your existing value and capabilities. The most profound aspect of the confidence contagion is how it affects your family lineage. If you have children, your confidence transformation literally changes their genetic expression through what scientists call epigenetics. Your emotional state, your stress levels, and your behavioral patterns influence which genes get activated in your children when you shift from chronic self-doubt to genuine confidence. You're reducing stress hormones and increasing positive neurotransmitters in your system. These biochemical changes affect not just your own health and well-being, but can actually influence the genetic expression of your children and even your grandchildren. You're not just changing your own life. You're potentially changing the trajectory of your family line for generations. The confidence you develop today could impact your great-grandchildren's natural tendency towards self-belief and resilience. Even if you don't have children, your confidence transformation affects your extended family, your friends, your colleagues, and your community. Every person you interact with while operating from genuine confidence receives a small dose of permission to be more authentic, more courageous, more self-accepting. This creates ripple effects that extend far beyond your immediate circle. The person whose confidence you boost might go home and treat their family differently. The colleague who feels safer speaking up in meetings because of your modeling might contribute an idea that improves the entire organization. The friend who sees you pursuing your dreams might finally start pursuing their own. Your personal confidence transformation is never just personal. It's a contribution to the collective healing of the epidemic of self-doubt that affects our entire culture. Every person who learns to value themselves, speak their truth and pursue their authentic path makes it easier for others to do the same. This understanding adds profound meaning to your confidence journey. You're not just improving your own life. You're participating in a larger transformation that could ultimately change how our entire society relates to self-worth, authenticity, and human potential. Chapter 13. Confidence in the Age of Comparison. Thriving in a social media world. The modern world presents unique challenges to confidence that previous generations never had to navigate. Social media has created an environment of constant comparison, where everyone's highlight reel is visible. 247 Where your worth can feel tied to likes and comments. Where the pressure to project perfection is relentless. Learning to maintain genuine confidence in this environment requires specific strategies and a deep understanding of how digital comparison affects your brain. The comparison trap is more sophisticated now than it's ever been in human history. Instead of comparing yourself to a small circle of people in your immediate environment, you're now unconsciously comparing yourself to millions of people, most of whom are carefully curating their online presence to show only their best moments. Your brain, which evolved to make social comparisons within small tribes, isn't equipped to handle this level of comparison input. It doesn't understand that the images and updates you're seeing represent tiny filtered slices of people's lives rather than their full reality. Your unconscious mind processes these curated highlights as evidence that everyone else is more successful, happier, more attractive, and more fulfilled than you are. This creates what psychologists call compare and despair, a cycle where exposure to others' apparent success triggers feelings of inadequacy, which leads to more compulsive checking of social media, which exposes you to more idealized images, which deepens the sense of inadequacy. The cycle becomes self-reinforcing and can seriously undermine even well-developed confidence. But here's what you need to understand. The people posting the most perfect looking content are often struggling with the deepest insecurities. The need to constantly project an image of success and happiness usually comes from internal emptiness and self-doubt. People who are genuinely confident and fulfilled rarely feel compelled to prove it to strangers on the internet. This insight helps you reframe social media consumption entirely. Instead of seeing perfect posts as evidence of others' superiority, you can see them as evidence of their insecurity. Instead of feeling inferior to carefully curated images, you can feel compassion for the psychological pressure that drives people to seek validation through online performance. The first strategy for maintaining confidence in the digital age is developing what I call highlight reel awareness. Every time you find yourself comparing your internal experience to someone's external presentation, remind yourself that you're comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to their carefully edited performance. You know your struggles, your insecurities, your bad days, your challenges. You don't know theirs. You see your full spectrum of human experience while seeing only others' filtered highlights. This isn't a fair comparison, and recognizing this helps you opt out of the comparison game entirely. The second strategy is curating your digital environment as carefully as you would curate your physical environment. If you wouldn't invite people into your home who consistently made you feel bad about yourself, why would you follow them online? Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison or inadequacy. Follow accounts that inspire growth, learning, authenticity, and positivity. This isn't about creating an echo chamber or avoiding different perspectives. It's about protecting your mental environment from influences that undermine your confidence without adding genuine value to your life. Your attention is finite and precious. Invest it in content that supports your growth rather than content that feeds your insecurities. The third strategy is developing authentic self-expression online rather than performance-based posting. If you choose to share content, focus on sharing your genuine experiences, insights, and interests rather than trying to create an impressive image. Share your struggles alongside your successes. Share your learning process, not just your achievements. Authentic sharing serves two purposes. It keeps you connected to your genuine self rather than a performed version of yourself. And it gives others permission to be authentic, too. When you post about challenges you're facing, mistakes you've made, or things you're learning, you help break the cycle of perfect image pressure for everyone in your network. The fourth strategy is using social media intentionally rather than compulsively. Set specific times for checking social platforms rather than scrolling mindlessly throughout the day. Have a purpose when you open an app. Are you looking for inspiration, connection with specific people, information about particular topics? When you've accomplished that purpose, close the app. Mindless scrolling is particularly dangerous for confidence because it puts your brain in a passive, receptive state where you're more vulnerable to comparison and negative emotions. Intentional use keeps you in an active, purposeful state where you're more likely to engage positively and less likely to fall into comparison traps. The fifth strategy is developing offline confidence anchors, activities, relationships, and experiences that remind you of your worth independent of digital validation. Pursue hobbies that challenge you. Spend time in nature. Engage in face-to-face conversations. Create things with your hands. Exercise your body. Meditate. Read books. These offline experiences provide what digital experiences can't. Genuine embodied confidence that comes from real accomplishment, authentic connection, and present moment awareness. They serve as touchstones you can return to when the digital world starts affecting your self-worth. The sixth strategy is understanding the psychology of seeking validation through likes, shares, and comments. When you post something and then compulsively check for responses, you're essentially gambling with your self-worth. Sometimes you get the validation hit, sometimes you don't. And this unpredictable reinforcement schedule is psychologically addictive. Break this cycle by posting content and then deliberately not checking responses for at least several hours. Ideally, not until the next day. This helps you stay connected to your intrinsic motivation for sharing rather than getting caught in external validation seeking. The seventh strategy is practicing digital minimalism. Being highly selective about which platforms you use, how often you use them, and what you use them for. You don't need to be on every platform. You don't need to post regularly, and you don't need to maintain an online presence at all if it's not serving your authentic goals. Many people find that dramatically reducing their social media use or taking extended breaks improves their confidence, their focus, their relationships, and their overall life satisfaction. You might discover that much of what feels like necessary digital engagement is actually optional habit that's not adding real value to your life. The ultimate strategy is developing what I call digital confidence. The ability to engage with online platforms from a place of strength, authenticity, and genuine purpose rather than insecurity, performance, or validation seeking. Digital confidence means using technology to support your real-world goals and relationships rather than replacing them with virtual substitutes. When you have digital confidence, you can appreciate others' successes without feeling diminished. Share your own experiences without needing particular responses and engage in online conversations without getting triggered by disagreement or criticism. You use social media as a tool rather than being used by it. This doesn't mean avoiding all challenges or conflicts online. It means engaging from a centered place where your self-worth isn't dependent on outcomes. You can share controversial opinions, have difficult conversations, and stand up for your values while remaining grounded in your intrinsic worth. The goal isn't to become immune to all social influence or to completely opt out of digital culture. The goal is to maintain your authentic self and genuine confidence while navigating an environment specifically designed to trigger insecurity and compulsive engagement. When you master this balance, you can enjoy the genuine benefits of digital connection without sacrificing your mental health or self-worth. Chapter 14. The Confidence Legacy. Teaching others what you've learned. One of the most powerful ways to solidify your own confidence transformation is to begin sharing what you've learned with others. Teaching confidence to others doesn't just help them. It deepens your own understanding, reinforces your new neural pathways, and creates a positive feedback loop that accelerates your growth while contributing to theirs. The teaching process works because it requires you to articulate and organize your insights in ways that make them accessible to others. When you explain concepts clearly enough for someone else to understand and apply them, you strengthen your own grasp of those concepts. Teaching forces you to move beyond surface-level understanding to deep integrated knowledge. But teaching confidence is different from teaching other subjects because confidence is inherently experiential. You can't just share information. You have to model the very qualities you're trying to teach. This means your own confidence development becomes even more important because others will learn as much from how you show up as from what you say. The most important principle of teaching confidence is that you don't need to be perfectly confident to help others. You don't need to have completely eliminated self-doubt or achieved some impossible standard of unshakable self-belief. You just need to be a few steps ahead of the person you're helping and willing to share what you've learned along the way. In fact, people often relate better to teachers who are honest about their ongoing growth rather than those who present themselves as having reached some final destination. Your vulnerabilities, your struggles, and your continued learning make you more relatable and trustworthy as a guide. Start by identifying people in your life who could benefit from what you've learned. This might be family members who struggle with self-doubt, friends who are dealing with imposter syndrome, colleagues who seem paralyzed by perfectionism, or young people who are just beginning to develop their sense of self. The key is to look for people who have expressed interest in personal growth or who have specifically mentioned struggles with confidence. Don't try to force your insights on people who haven't asked for help or indicated openness to change. Unsolicited advice, no matter how well-intentioned, often creates resistance rather than receptivity when someone does express interest in learning about confidence. Start by sharing your own story. Tell them about your struggles with self-doubt, the specific techniques you've learned, and the changes you've experienced. Be honest about both the successes and the ongoing challenges. Your authenticity will create safety for them to share their own experiences. Listen deeply to their specific confidence challenges rather than immediately offering solutions. Everyone's self-doubt patterns are unique, shaped by their particular experiences, personality, and circumstances. The techniques that work best for you might not be the most relevant for their situation. Understanding their specific challenges helps you tailor your guidance to their needs. As you begin teaching confidence concepts, focus on experiential learning rather than just intellectual understanding. Have them practice the neural override protocol while you're together. Guide them through confidence visualization exercises. Help them identify and challenge their specific limiting beliefs. Create opportunities for them to experience small confidence wins in real time. One of the most powerful teaching tools is what I call confidence companioning. Being present with someone as they practice new confidence behaviors in real-world situations. This might mean accompanying a shy friend to a networking event and helping them practice conversation starters or supporting a colleague as they prepare for a challenging presentation. Your presence during these stretching experiences provides emotional safety and encouragement that makes it easier for them to push through their comfort zone. You become a bridge between their current reality and their confident potential, helping them access states they wouldn't be able to reach alone. Remember that everyone learns at their own pace and in their own way. Some people need lots of encouragement and emotional support. Others prefer practical strategies and step-by-step instructions. Some learn best through conversation and reflection. Others need hands-on practice and immediate feedback. Pay attention to what works best for each person and adapt your approach accordingly. Be patient with the process and avoid the temptation to rush people through their growth. Confidence development is rarely linear, and people often need to cycle through the same lessons multiple times before they integrate them fully. Your role is to provide consistent support and guidance, not to force particular timelines or outcomes. One of the most valuable aspects of teaching confidence is helping people recognize and celebrate their progress. Most people are much better at noticing what they haven't accomplished yet than acknowledging how far they've come. Help them see the small wins, the subtle shifts, the gradual changes that might be invisible to them but are obvious to you as an outside observer. Create accountability structures that support their continued growth without becoming pressure or judgment. This might involve regular check-ins where they share their confidence, challenges, and wins. Practice sessions where you work on specific skills together, or goal-setting conversations where you help them identify the next steps in their development. As you gain experience teaching confidence to others, you might want to expand your impact through writing, speaking, workshops, or online content. Sharing your insights with larger audiences can help you reach people you wouldn't encounter in your personal life while continuing to deepen your own understanding. But remember that the most powerful teaching often happens in informal everyday interactions. A moment of encouragement when someone is doubting themselves. A story about your own growth when someone is facing a similar challenge. Or simply modeling confident behavior in your daily life can have profound impact on others. The confidence legacy you create isn't just about the specific people you directly help. Each person whose confidence grows because of your influence will likely impact others in their life. Your willingness to share what you've learned creates ripple effects that extend far beyond what you can see or measure. This perspective adds deep meaning to your own confidence journey. You're not just working on yourself for your own benefit. You're developing capabilities that you can use to serve others. Your personal growth becomes a form of preparation for contribution, making your confidence development feel purposeful and valuable beyond its immediate benefits to you. Teaching confidence to others also provides ongoing motivation for your own continued growth. When you see how your insights and encouragement can transform someone else's life, it reinforces the value of the work you're doing on yourself. When you see others applying what you've shared and getting positive results, it validates your own progress and motivates you to keep learning and growing. The ultimate goal of creating a confidence legacy is contributing to a cultural shift away from the epidemic of self-doubt that affects so many people. Every person whose confidence grows. Every family where children learn to believe in themselves. Every workplace where people feel safe to contribute authentically. Every community where individuals pursue their potential. All of these represent progress toward a world where confidence and self-belief are normal rather than rare. Your personal confidence transformation combined with your willingness to share what you've learned becomes part of a larger movement toward human flourishing. You're not just changing your own life. You're participating in changing the world. One relationship, one conversation, one moment of encouragement at a time. Chapter 15. Your new reality. Living as the most confident version of yourself. We've reached the end of this journey together. But in many ways, this ending is actually your beginning. You now have everything you need to stop self-doubt instantly and live as the most confident version of yourself. The techniques you've learned, the insights you've gained, and the shifts you've experienced have literally rewired your brain for confidence. But knowledge without application is just entertainment. And transformation without integration is just temporary change. Your new reality begins with a fundamental recognition. You are not the same person who started watching this video. Even if you don't feel dramatically different yet, even if some of the old doubt patterns still arise occasionally, you have already changed at the neurological level. You have created new neural pathways, weakened old limiting patterns, and expanded your understanding of what's possible for you. The confident version of yourself isn't someone you need to become. It's someone you already are underneath the layers of conditioning, programming, and learned responses that have been covering your true nature. Confidence isn't something you build from scratch. It's something you uncover by removing the barriers that have been blocking its natural expression. This shift in understanding changes everything about how you approach your continued growth. Instead of trying to become confident, you're now practicing being the confident person you already are. Instead of working to eliminate self-doubt, you're choosing to respond from confidence when doubt arises. Instead of waiting until you feel ready, you're acting with courage while feeling uncertain. Your new reality includes the understanding that confidence isn't a feeling that precedes action. It's a choice you make in each moment, regardless of how you feel. The most confident people in the world don't feel confident all the time. They feel all the same emotions everyone else feels: uncertainty, nervousness, doubt, fear. The difference is that they don't let these feelings control their choices. They've learned what you've learned: that you can feel afraid and still speak up, feel uncertain and still take action, feel doubtful and still pursue your goals. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. It's not the elimination of uncertainty. It's decision-making despite uncertainty. It's not the end of doubt. It's choosing your authentic path while doubt whispers in the background. Living as the most confident version of yourself means honoring both your strength and your vulnerability. It means being willing to try things you might fail at, to have conversations that might be awkward, to pursue dreams that might not work out. It means accepting that growth requires discomfort and that discomfort doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Your new reality includes the recognition that setbacks and failures are not threats to your confidence. They're opportunities to practice resilience, to gather new information, to adjust your approach, and to prove to yourself that you can handle whatever life presents. Each time you bounce back from disappointment, each time you learn from mistakes, each time you persist through challenges, you strengthen your confidence at the deepest level. The techniques you've learned, the neural override protocol, the confidence spiral, the advanced rewiring methods are tools that will serve you for the rest of your life. But they're only as powerful as your commitment to using them consistently. Like physical fitness, confidence requires ongoing practice and regular attention. Make a commitment to yourself right now to practice these techniques daily for the next 30 days. Not because you need 30 days to see results. You can see results immediately. But because 30 days of consistent practice will make these new responses automatic. After 30 days, confidence will be your default setting rather than something you have to consciously create. Your new reality also includes the responsibility to share what you've learned with others. Not because you have to become a confidence coach or teacher, but because your transformation naturally inspires and influences everyone around you. Simply by living as the confident version of yourself, you give others permission to do the same. Remember that your confidence journey is not about reaching some final destination where you never feel doubt again. It's about developing an unshakable core of self-belief that remains stable regardless of external circumstances. It's about becoming someone who trusts their ability to handle whatever life brings, who believes in their capacity to learn and grow, who knows their worth is inherent rather than earned. The most confident version of yourself is also the most authentic version of yourself. When you're not constantly worried about what others think, when you're not seeking external validation, when you're not trying to be someone you're not, your natural personality can emerge fully, your unique gifts, your genuine interests, your authentic voice. All of these become more accessible when confidence removes the barriers to self-expression. This authenticity is magnetic and attractive in ways that performed confidence never can be. People are drawn to individuals who are comfortable in their own skin, who speak their truth with kindness, who pursue their path with courage. Your authentic confidence benefits not just you, but everyone who encounters you. Your new reality includes the understanding that confidence is a practice, not a perfection. There will be days when you feel more confident and days when you feel less confident. There will be situations that challenge you and situations where you feel completely at ease. This variation is normal and healthy. What matters is that you now have the tools to return to confidence quickly when you've been knocked off center. You also understand that confidence grows through use each time you practice confident behavior. Each time you choose courage over comfort, Each time you act from your values rather than your fears, you strengthen the neural pathways that support self-belief. Your confidence compounds over time, making each future challenge easier to handle as you move forward from this moment. Carry with you the deep knowing that you have everything within you that you need to create an extraordinary life. Your dreams, your goals, your vision for who you want to become. None of these are beyond your reach. They require action, persistence, learning, and growth. But they don't require you to become someone fundamentally different from who you already are. They require you to be more yourself, not less. They require you to trust your capabilities, not doubt them. They require you to believe in your potential, not limit it with fear. They require you to act from confidence, not wait for confidence to act. The journey of building unshakable confidence is one of the most important investments you can make in yourself and in the world. Every moment you choose confidence over doubt. Every time you act from courage rather than fear. Every day you show up as the fullest version of yourself. You're contributing to a more confident, courageous, and authentic world. Your transformation matters. Your growth matters. Your willingness to believe in yourself and pursue your potential matters more than you may ever fully know. You have within you right now everything you need to live with confidence, to pursue your dreams and to create a life that reflects your deepest values and highest aspirations. The only question remaining is, what will you do with this power? How will you use your newfound confidence? What dreams will you pursue? What impact will you make? What legacy will you create? The most confident version of yourself is ready to find out. And that journey begins right now with your very next choice in this very moment. Choose confidence. Choose courage. Choose yourself. Your extraordinary life is waiting.